We are live. We are live. Yay! I think we did it. I think we made it. This is so cool. For those of you that are hopping on and you don't know who I am, I'm Bill Yeager, the author of the now international best-selling book, Unleash Your Internal Drive. And I'm so grateful today. We've got an awesome special guest, Holly Dixon, who's going to talk about how she overcame extreme mental and physical challenges and how you can too. So if you're watching, please let us know if you can hear us in the comments first and you can see us. So go ahead, leave a comment and let us know. Yeah, we're good to roll. All right, good. Good. All right, cool. So thank you guys for being on. Thank you, Holly, so much for being on. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. I'm so happy to talk to you and to share a little bit of my life experience with everybody who might be tuning in today. So it's a good day.
Oh man, yeah, it is, and it's so cool how this all kind of came to fruition because we were talking a little bit last week, and you opened up, and I'm like, whoa, like I didn't even know that about you, and we've known each other for years, and we collaborated at least a year or two ago, and you've been a dear friend of mine too, and to hear you open up, I was like, wow, I'm like, that's inspiring. Would you go live? Because I think other people need to hear this. So I'm super excited about it too. I gotta say, when I was choosing the limited wardrobe I have for this thing, I don't know if you could see. I'm wearing one of my T-shirts that says, I'll read it right off of your. What is it? Every challenge is a victory story in the making. And that actually came out in one of my other programs I was doing. I was doing a free challenge, and it just kind of spit out of my mouth. And I'm like, all right, that's definitely the shirt. So what I wanted to do actually for you and for anyone who's watching here who stays to the end, I'm going to give you guys a free shirt. Just pay for the shipping, and you get to have one of these too. And the cool thing is, I just launched this new brand. The cool thing is like you're putting motivation on your chest. You're putting a key phrase that can lift you up right across your body, and it works. It works. It really changes your whole presence. So that's my gift to you, Holly, for having the courage to come on here and for anybody who's there's a million things that our viewers could be doing right now, and the cool thing is just they're watching us. So appreciated. So let's move into it. I want to formally introduce Holly because she's got certifications that will like blow your mind. So this is Holly's intro. So she's got an impressive background in enhancing the energy of her clients. Okay, their clients' bodies and their minds, and understanding that trust and connection are the building blocks to achieve your fitness and wellness goals. And Holly is a lifetime athlete, which she's going to talk a little bit about in the beginning of this thing for sure. And she's played collegiate soccer at Assumption College in Massachusetts with 13 years of experience in the fitness industry. She's a NASM certified personal trainer, Pellicore method instructor, which is pelvic core fitness, and ACE health coach. And she's currently enrolled in school, or it was at one point enrolled in school for physical therapy assistant to add to her many tools in her toolbox. Those are a lot of letters that go with your name. And to conclude here, Holly has worked with a wide range of clients and now specializes in optimizing women's health in all ages of life through fitness, pelvic core work, nutrition, and quality practitioner referrals too, which I know you believe in. So please welcome Holly by hitting a like button. Okay, it takes courage for her to be on here and talk about the things in her life that are very, very personal. So let's get into it. So and also, if anybody's got any questions, go ahead and fire them off at the end. And hopefully this is kind of a new platform for me, having somebody on live, so hopefully we're able to see it and answer them. But if not, we'll answer them in the messages once we conclude. So let's move into it. So Holly's here to talk about how she overcame extreme mental and physical challenges and how you guys can too. And I'm sure you can relate in some way because if you're alive, you've had challenges. Okay, and I know some of the ones that were very, very traumatizing to me, which have been difficult to be open about. So Holly, let's get into it. I got a question. So prior to having found that solution that we were just talking about, like where were you at and what were your goals?
prior to like life taking me on this whole different direction, I was an athlete, and I was an athlete to the core of my being. It's kind of all I knew how to function was competitively and going hard. Like I was good at that and I could perform, and that's kind of the wave I was riding. Even as, you know, when I got into personal training, it was competitive mindset. Let's go hard. Let's get it done. So, I mean, prior to the challenges that I started really experiencing physically, I was training like 6, 7 days a week, and I was still playing soccer. I was doing Tough Mudders and training for Tough Mudders, which are like 15-mile obstacle courses that are a whole lot of fun. And, you know, I wanted to become a fitness model, and kind of like really had a lot of value more in the aesthetic and performance side of fitness and living, really.
So when we were talking a little bit the other day, you mentioned the earlier years when you know that you were an athlete your whole life, as you said, and you took a job in media. Talk about that a little bit and how you moved into becoming a personal trainer. It's a cool story.
Well, I'm glad you think it's that cool. So, you know, your whole life, like, I didn't really prepare for what after college was going to look like. I was just like playing soccer and doing what I thought I should do. And I got a degree in English and mass communication. So I really liked the media and working with TV to see how things are produced and then the outcome of it. So I took a job in media, and my body was like shocked and my brain was shocked because I'm sitting there for 8 hours a day. I was doing quality control. I was like, man, what am I doing? There is no gratification. I'm not even working with people. You know, I'm watching TV, and in my real life, in my life outside of work, I didn't really watch TV. So there I am, like, wondering what had happened from the time I graduated and then took this job, just going through the motions essentially. You know, you graduate, you think you should do corporate things, and then you get there and it might not be all you really had prepared for. So when I was in that job, I had a friend that was like, hey, you know that you can become a personal trainer. And believe it or not, I never had heard of a personal trainer. Because in our day of being an athlete, you didn't have a personal trainer to go with that. Like, you just were an athlete and you had your coach. So, and then maybe some guest like performance coaches, right? So when I was told that, I was like, oh, all right, well, obviously that's what I want to do. So I studied to become a personal trainer, and then I was working in media and I started personal training at the same time. So I was kind of like doing both, trying to transition out of this like world that I found myself in, not knowing what I was doing.
And what year was that?
2007.
Oh, what? That was back in the day. That was like 15 years ago. So you were a kid, right? You were probably in your 20s or so.
I mean, I had just graduated college. I went and got that job. And so I was like living that job, and I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I had one of my college professors like linked me there, basically set me up with that media company. And then once I transitioned to personal training, I essentially never went back. You know, it took some different paths. There were a few times I tried to go into a more corporate environment, but not for me. Not for me.
Well, I'll tell you, I think a lot of people watching here could understand that and relate to that in some way. Honestly, guys, hit the love button if you thought you had it figured out in your 20s, because I thought I did. And then all of a sudden, bam, somebody comes up to you and it's like, oh, you should be a personal trainer. I thought that was actually a cool story because I can relate to that. Somebody actually came up to me, and I just loved giving the gift of personal training to other people. And I was like doing nutrition plans in my kitchen table and having people come over my house and work out in my garage. And I had some dumbbells and stuff in there. And then one woman came up to me, who a dear friend of mine, family friend, and she was asking for advice. And we worked together for a short time. She goes, "Why don't you do this for a living? You know, you could be a personal trainer." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool." 20 years later, here I am. So it's
once you start touching people's lives and you understand the impact you can make in their life, there's nothing that compares to that type of gratification and connection.
very true. That's literally what drives me. You know, there are times where it's difficult for many reasons as a personal trainer, especially the last year and a half, you know, with shutdowns and everything that's been going on. Everybody's had struggles last year and a half. And the driving force is that I have the opportunity to live through, like a parent lives through their kid, whether it's right or wrong. I'm not going to go into that, but, you know, it's like a parent lives through their kid when they succeed, you know, and when clients, their first week, they start feeling better, you know, and they're like, they're looking better and they're smiling more. It's all these things. And, you know, 4 weeks later, they got to buy new clothes and all this stuff. And it's like, man, like I relive my transformation through that. So I totally agree. Like it's an amazing driving force for sure. So moving into that. So you became a personal trainer. Fast forward a few years, I'm not gonna give it away, but in 2013, you were struck with a really big challenge. Would you explain that?
Of course. So in 2013, I was just training like I normally do, and then all of a sudden I had like a little bit of a upper back pain that was severe enough to allow me to go to the doctor and have it checked out. Because I didn't want to further injure anything and be completely out. So I was trying to be proactive. That doctor had said to me, "You have an upper thoracic sprain. Here, take, what medication do you want?" Basically, right? So from that point, I got sent into a year and a half of being on a lot of medications. It didn't end there. So that first, I got an MRI to follow that up. I was training for a Tough Mudder, and I just thought like that would go away and I'd be fine. But when I was training, I was running, and my low back, like I just like couldn't run anymore. Basically, I was like stopped in my tracks because I had a pain from my low back shooting down into my knee. And so again, I thought, okay, that day something's off. Go back out the next day or the next couple days, try to get that running again. Same thing happens. I couldn't walk. So that led to another series of MRIs for my low back, and came back that I had disc degeneration in my low spine and herniations basically from my cervical spine down in different areas. So where do we go from here, right? They put me in pain management. So I was 27 years old getting injections. I had 2 epidurals in my lumbar spine. I was having cervical muscular injections, like trying to, I don't know, relax the spasms and reduce pain. The pain management doctor just kept putting me on more and more medication. And I was like, this isn't it. Like, I can't keep doing it. I'm 27. This is going to kill. Like, I just had that feeling like this is going to kill me really in the long run, because where's the solution? There isn't a solution. It's keep taking all these hardcore pain medications. Within that time, I also saw a rheumatologist. So they diagnosed me with like a rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune, like more so of an autoimmune arthritis. Same thing, medications, right? So here I am trying biologics, which are like the injectable medications that have a lot of ramifications to them, and on high doses of pain medication, just so I could continue to work, continue to train myself. And it all just really came to a head where it was like none of it was really working. But it wasn't working for the lifestyle I was leading either. So I had a point, I was like, am I doing everything I can to reduce my pain? Am I approaching this correctly? Like if I'm not doing everything I can do in my power, I'm not going on the next medication. And that's where it all started to transform into
Mm.
learning
Yeah.
what to do with somebody who has these diagnoses.
Mm. And when did you become a mother too? Was it throughout all this?
It was later, so I had dealt with that for like 6 or 7 years. So 2013, then in 2015. Oh, I guess it's no wait, that's correct. I'm like, which is my son's birthday? 2016.
I know.
2016. Um,
Man.
2016, I became a mom. Um, 2019, I became a mom for the second time. And those each had more transformational challenges within them. My condition did not get better with being pregnant. And postpartum is probably the worst I could ever feel is postpartum
Mm.
period with
Mm.
everything else. But we find tools. If you want, there are tools uh, that I've learned along the way. And it started with that back pain, that little pain in the upper middle back turned into disc degeneration, herniated discs, and an autoimmune disease. What do you do?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot physically. That's a lot mentally. On top of all the responsibilities in becoming a parent for the first time, and learning all that, right? There's no book. I'm sure there's plenty of books, but none of them actually are designed for your kid, right? I know that all too well. On top of postpartum, and I'm not going to put the word in my mouth, so we could use the word depression, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's like, man, and then you have your second child. Whoa, that's a lot, And I feel like many people who are watching now can relate to this in some way, you know, in some way, because I believe challenge is challenge, and I believe trauma is trauma, and we're all going to respond to it in different ways. Some better than others, but that's why I wanted you to come on today so so people can see that they're not the only ones, you know, that even trainers, even fitness models, no matter who you are, there's challenge there. And the beauty in it, and we're going to talk about this, so stick with me, guys. Say I in the comments, would you? If you've ever been stuck with some kind of serious challenge, right? Or struck with some kind of serious challenge. Okay, so if you don't say I know you're not participating here because you're alive. So at that point, Holly, you mentioned the word transformation. Like you had some sort of epiphany, didn't you? Talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm still in this high amount of pain. I'm taking a high amount of pain medications every day, but what can I do? What else can I do? So I had to be willing to take that into my own hands before anything can happen with it, right? Because a lot of times we're like, the doctor's got to figure it out. This person has to figure it out. We have to figure it out. And I love in the beginning how you said toolbox, because that's what it is. We each go through our own challenges and have specific lifestyles. And what it comes down to is learning how to build your toolbox for your lifestyle and your particular challenges. So that transformation, it put a magnifying glass on my life. I had to put a magnifying glass back on me because I looked healthy, but my lifestyle prior to that was very unhealthy. I was overtraining, I was drinking and partying, I was not sleeping well because I would work all the time and party and work out. Like I had this double kind of life, if you were to look at it. I guess typical of a 20-something-year-old, but it really was not healthy at all. That's where training can be unhealthy too, and a lot of people need to learn that as well. So I started looking into nutritionally what I could do. I mean, that didn't all happen right at once, right? I went through a year or more of denial that I even had these conditions. So every time I'd go to the doctor, I'd leave crying because it really like was a reality that I was continuing to run from. So I was in denial while I was like taking the meds and everything like that. And then once I decided to not take anymore is when I had to act and I had to try different things. So that came down to learning about anti-inflammatory nutrition. I learned about how training is a stress stimulus. So overtraining can break down our bodies just like typical stress and the outside challenges we deal with. So I wasn't making it better that I was overtraining. But I was trying to convince myself that the stronger I got, the better I would be. And it wasn't that. It was the smarter I got, the better I would be. So just totally transforming how I trained my own self, which pours over into my clients, right? And the nutrition, stress management aspect. So stress is like the number one precursor to a lot of disease and dysfunction in our bodies. It doesn't matter how much mentally we can handle, our bodies tell us the story, the real story, right? Stress and trauma, all in our bodies. So even if mentally we're like, I'm strong, I got this, that's nothing. We could pretend like it's nothing, but our bodies will tell us what's really happening.
What was your driving force throughout this whole, this transformation? What was it? What was that? What was the emotion that was really driving you?
I guess it'd be like sitting here today, right? Is what drove me to this point. So once I got over the why me, why me, why me, why do I have to go through this? This is definitely not fair. Every doctor says I look healthy, but I feel awful. Once I really, really internalized that my struggle's purpose, that the purpose God gave me in this journey was to help other people who are dealing with similar things, then I was able to really face it and try to do my best with it so I could teach my clients and others how to walk through this. And it's not perfect and it doesn't feel great all the time and you still have times where you struggle. But having the community and knowing that what you're going through will benefit somebody else, that's the dream.
Now I'm curious, like
why would somebody have to do what I did for so many years when they could be streamlined to some of the tools they could try?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. As you're talking about this epiphany that you had, I've got this curiosity about like, what was your own perception of your body as a woman throughout this? Like, were you in love with your body? Were you happy about your body? Like how did you feel about yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a really important question for women overall. I didn't truly start appreciating my body until I had children. And then it did not look how it looked before I had children. You know what I mean? So I was sitting there like, my God, I was in phenomenal shape and I was still shaming myself every day, negatively speaking to myself, wanting that last little bit of fat that is normal to go away. And I would train myself, not based out of self-love at that point, like when I was younger, but out of the desire to make it better, the desire to change it, the desire that if I am a certain way, I can accept myself. And that is like so flawed in our thinking. And once I started to appreciate my body and not how it looked, but what it can do, right? Strength, bearing children, the ability to go through having a C-section, heal, and then rebuild. Like, that's crazy. That's a lot of work. So once I started talking to myself in the mirror, because I work with this with clients, every client I get, I really, and if I teach class, I want you to look in the mirror. That way you learn how your body works. A lot of them don't want to. I don't want to look in the mirror, or they start right away negative talk. And I'm like, no, that's not what this is about. We have to learn to look at ourselves and say, it's okay that I'm here. If you're not satisfied with the aesthetic part, that's okay to feel that way, but to not shame yourself and not talk down to yourself. Like, we need to talk to ourselves like we talk to our best friends or to our children. And once we can really start to do that, then your body starts to work for you. And you then make different decisions based on appreciation instead of shame and self-hatred. And that's a huge turn. Huge.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big part of the transformation, you know, or the payoff that you've been through. You know, let's talk about a little bit more about that, because, you know, you got a diagnosis, you know, and sometimes when people get a diagnosis, you know, they look at things differently. So talk about that, and like how you responded to that, and how you use that to empower you now.
Well, I've always had this mindset, even when I was little and things weren't great, that, okay, things aren't great, but at least X, Y, and Z, right? So, all right, I have this pain, but what can I do? And maybe what I could do when I was in the highest state of pain it still felt not great, because it was a lot less than what I was used to and a lot slower. So it was just like really staying in that mindset of, all right, I can't do this, or this hurts right now, but what can I do? And that's why I tell my clients, like, you get a diagnosis, it does suck, and you might feel depressed and sad. But then you, at some point, if you don't switch to what can I do? Okay, my back hurts, but look, like, my arms still work and I actually still can walk, right? So if I can still walk and my arms still work, there's going to be something I can do. It might not be what I want to do, because I wanted to train like an athlete. I wanted to keep going hard, right? So I wanted to keep doing that, but I couldn't, and that's okay. That's all right. So it's really like just continuing to focus on what you can do. You get a diagnosis or you hurt your shoulder, that's a shoulder. You still have the whole rest of your body to work with, right? So just because you have a hurt shoulder doesn't mean you can't be healthy, and you can't exercise, and you can't eat well, and you can't focus on mentally what you might be going through with your shoulder and how to turn that around into something positive and figuring out what you can do. That's one of my taglines, is every small win compounds to big gains. Because it's not about the big gain, it's about the small steps you take to get there. And once you can switch your mind to the step-by-step process towards that goal without putting a time limit on that goal, you'll start to see yourself get towards there, and then that's what keeps you going.
Oh, I love that. I love that. One of my shirts has like wins, wins, wins over it, because it's like the more often that you focus on the wins instead of, you know, the diagnosis being a definition, you know, and like all the tough stuff that we could focus on, you know, because we all have tough stuff going on, because that's life. You know, that's how we were created. We were created to grow, not to suffer, but to grow, you know, and sometimes there's pain associated to that, which we all understand and know. But if you can focus on the wins and start appreciating those, as you said, then your life really begins to shift. And as you discuss, like that acknowledgement of the diagnosis, you know, if you can appreciate it for whatever reason it's there, you know, so you can move forward. Whoa, now you're an empowered individual instead of that person with a diagnosis, you know? So that's just, what a transformation. I think that's just incredible that you've gone through that, and you've gone through the mental transformation too, you know? And so how do you use that now? How do you use that experience with working with your clients? You touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about that a little bit more too.
Yeah, and the thing about the diagnosis is the initial diagnosis today is not the same diagnosis they think today, right? So it's like, if we get attached to what we're first told by doctors, like, and we stay there, we don't really know. They don't, sometimes you know, right? Sometimes you know, but at the same time, like, a diagnosis is not a reason to just stop and sit there. regardless,
Mm.
because this is life, right? Life is still going to pass us by, and we still have to decide what we're going to do at that time, regardless of everything going on around us. All right, so
Mm.
to my clients, it is like the way, that's why a lot of my clients, and you said too, you're like, I had no idea that you've gone through all this. And it's like, I don't say it outright. I don't lead with that. But that's why I enjoy working one-on-one with people, because I can get a little deeper into my own personal experience and be open so they can see, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Maybe I can do that too. You know, like maybe instead of shaming myself, I can start to look at how beautiful I am just as I am right now, and I try to tell my clients, give yourself credit that you made the choice to start. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
So instead of like talking negative through your whole process, make it a great process. It's still going to have its challenges, but make it great. But I
Totally.
believe it allowed me to connect to a lot of different types of people, because suffering is suffering, and a lot of people suffer in silence. And I think a big part of this, right, is teaching other people too that like, we don't need to suffer in silence. Once you realize that your suffering is for all, right? It's to benefit other people, and it's to learn for yourself. Now, I don't want to get into toxic positivity, right? I don't rock with that. Like, you still can feel your feelings, and it can feel not good.
Totally.
But we have to stay focused on the big picture. So I mean, I think my just ties into like every client I work with, because no matter what's going on, we're going to find a solution, right?
Right.
And it's going to be a solution that they're comfortable with. It's not going to be me as a dictator personal trainer saying, this is what you have to do. Like, no, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. And that's what I tell prospective clients is like, if you're looking for someone to tell you what to do and yell at you during session, not me. Not me. Maybe it used
I
to
love
be,
it.
but
I love
anymore.
I know. I know it's talk about the transformation too. You know, I actually used to be like that too, where it was like I went through this stage years ago about being like this this drill sergeant type, you know, and it was interesting because somebody asked me last year, this individual needed to lose a pretty large amount of weight, and he's like, look, Bill, he goes, you are my guy. He goes, I need the mindset. I'm like, yeah, I know you do. He goes, but I have to have somebody who's going to yell at me and call me names and all this other stuff. I'm like, I don't believe in that, man. Like I would love to serve you, and I think that we can be a powerhouse together, but ultimately that's what he wanted. I said, I'm sorry. I said, we were not a good fit then. I said, I can't do that. I said, it goes against everything I believe in, man. So it's cool to hear you say that. So, you know, there's people right now who are in that wall state, you know, where you were talking about before, where they're stuck. You know, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to become happier, who wants to become more fit, but they're going through that mental and or physical challenge right now?
Yeah. Another good question. My advice first off is to decide within yourself that you're willing to do whatever it takes. Once you get there, then you'll be willing to explore options. And also know that when you start a journey like this is like major, right? You don't have a cheerleading squad. You got to learn how to be your own cheerleading squad, because people they're going to come in and tell you you should be doing things a completely different way, but they don't know what's best for you. Only you do once you start working through that wall, right? And it takes a plan that you feel good with. Support from people that are going to be on your team. That's why I think hiring somebody is so important. It's not about give me a workout. It's about having somebody on your team that's going to really support you. Because most of us, we don't have that in life. We don't have somebody that will rock with us through what we're trying to go through. And the truth is, the closest ones to us, once they see us grow, they want to kind of pull us back to where they are. So when you're facing that wall, you have to first decide, like, I'm going to do whatever it takes, no matter how silly it looks. Like, I used to listen to YouTube videos all the time like Tony Robbins and motivational speakers to reprogram my mindset. I would write quotes on my mirror everywhere in my apartment because I needed that constant feedback, right? That constant, if it's a word, whatever it is, something that made me feel empowered and reminded me of where I'm trying to go. Because that wall is big, especially if you feel like you're right up against it. So you're going to have to figure out, I got a lot of work to do. And it's small things, right? So it's not like you have to do it all at once, but you got to start somewhere. And I think that's it. Being willing to explore and knowing that you might not find the answer the first place you look to is also something. How committed are you? You know?
Yeah. And like you said, that wall is big. That wall was big for you. My gosh, when I heard that when we first spoke about it last week, I was like, whoa, like that is mental and physical challenge. Okay, those are like the worst that you can have. Seriously. And the beauty in that is that you did find a way to get out. And the beauty in that is that you've overcome those challenges, and you're still an inspiration to others. And I so appreciate that you took the time to explain this today, and in hopes to, and I'm sure you're inspiring others just listening to you talk. I'm like, I feel like I want to work out right now. I'm like, what kind of excuses can I make? Like she went through all that, and I just was a little tired this morning. So you find a way, and it's so powerful, so powerful. Is there anything else that you would want to touch on, or anything that you'd want our viewers to hear from you before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, really like step back, right? Like zoom out from yourself and start to talk to yourself like you're talking to your best friend or your child. And what advice would you give somebody you loved and cared about so much? You need to give that to yourself and start honoring yourself in those small ways of just like, what would I tell somebody I loved in this situation? How would I help them? Because that self-love is then helping yourself in those same ways that you would give and pour into other people. You also have to do that to yourself so you can continue to show up, grow, and reach the goals you want. And also, like my story now, we're talking about a 9-year span, right? At this point, it was 2012 that I started with a little bit of pain. And that's 9 years. It did not happen all in the first 2 or 3. I'm still learning today. I'm still trying new modalities to help manage daily pain. I'm still finding new practitioners. Like, there's a lot out there that we can continue to learn. We're not going to know it all at once.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And create the plan. Put pen and paper. Clients I work with, I give a notebook. I say, this is now your health and wellness notebook. Everything you want, put it in here. That way, when you forget, you can reread it and motivate yourself again. So we got to start loving. You got to pour into yourself and start really loving and caring for yourself where you are, no matter what's going on, so you could get to where you want to be.
Yes. Oh, wow. I love that. So powerful. So darn true. What an inspiration. I think you are just amazing to have conquered and still conquering, and the big mountain that you climb, that big wall you've been able to climb and get over. And I know people are going to be so inspired and are touched. Everybody that's watching, please hit the love button for Holly. I congratulate you, Holly. You must be so proud of yourself. You're certainly a role model for your kids and your clients. And before we close, guys, like I've collaborated with Holly because her expertise in fitness, my expertise is I'm the why guy, like I'm the mindset guy. Like when I first got into this and got my certification for personal training, I just fell in love with the people who were not motivated. The motivated ones are great. That's every personal trainer's dream. You know what I mean? For somebody to just do what you ask them to do, and they transform, and great. It's great. It's just as great. But I really dove into, because this was my personal issue. I had to climb a little different wall, where it was all in my head, you know, and it was from the challenges I had in the horrible upbringing that I had. So when people carry that weight into raising their standards, you know, and trying to you know, lose weight, you know, because that would mean something for them, you know, but they're still carrying this thing, you know. I just became so passionate about solving that, you know. So I go to Holly because I made that my expertise. I go to Holly when I get a little stuck, when a client's got that shoulder problem, you know, or, you know, this big back issue, or they just had surgery. So I appreciate your knowledge. I'm so glad that I have somebody. I'm very, very appreciative of you, and that I have somebody that's a go-to for that kind of stuff too. And so Holly and I have been working together. So if there's anybody who's out there who's watching this, who's struggling, DM me, DM her. You know, we collaborate. I want to share with you that I've got a live event coming up on January 3rd. It's called the Fit and Happy Lifestyle Roadmap. And this is going to be a live course. It's the only time it's going to be live. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're deep diving into why people are stuck. You know, because so many people are challenged, especially the last couple of years. You know, people are just in this depressed state and they don't understand why they're stuck. And usually I could talk to somebody for 45 minutes. I'll interview them. I can identify why they're stuck and give them action steps, small action steps, like Holly mentioned. You know, you got to get those small wins to start feeling good, to be able to get out of that rut, that flab state, you know. And don't get me wrong, you know, I don't care if you are, if you think that you're healthy. You know, you may not be healthy inside. You might look healthy on the outside, but on the inside, if you're struggling, if you're carrying that kind of pain, I specialize in getting people to move forward, become motivated, increase that self-esteem, get them to go from feeling insecure and unmotivated to rocking and rolling and get into that fab state that I love to call it. So I'll leave a link in the comments to that as well. And if this is something that you guys feel like it'd be something that you would qualify for, we don't accept everybody. We got to pre-qualify you first. We did open up some more spots for the January 3rd event. So if that's something you want to hop into, go ahead and schedule a call with me. We'll chat a little bit, and hey, maybe you'll walk away with some really cool action steps. So I applaud you guys for watching. Pat yourself on the back. There's tons of other things that you could have been doing here, but you were able to, and I'm so grateful that Holly was able to explain it the way she did, and I'm touched. I'm truly touched. So I really appreciate you, Holly. Thank you. It took guts and courage to do this today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well,
because you know what?
What's that?
I said I'm excited to see who joins your program to figure out how to mentally get through these blocks, because we have to learn it. Because this isn't the first time you're against the wall is not the last time you're against the wall, right? So you got to learn the tools on how to stand out, because you're going to find yourself there again at some point.
Oh, I love it. That's so true. You know, it's a lifestyle. Because once you overcome one challenge, you know, you got that celebration period, you know, and then what happens? Another challenge shows up and you got to figure that one out, you know. So having the toolbox, you know, filled with all the tools that you need, then wow, it's an amazing life. And you can have a triumphant life, a bulletproof life, an unshakable life. It doesn't mean you're not going to have challenge. It doesn't mean you're not going to have pain. Man, I can go on for hours, the amount of pain that I've experienced in the last couple of years, you know, huge stuff, cataclysmic stuff, you know. But to be able to feel it, just like you said before, to be able to feel it, acknowledge it, appreciate it, move forward in a short period of time, you know, whoa. Now that to me is unshakable, instead of being in that depressed state and staying in that depressed state. So yeah, totally. I just, let me see if there's any comments, any questions in the comments. I forgot, was about to close there. This is kind of a different platform for me. I can't see if there's any comments. Can you?
Let's see. No, I don't think so. I'm on my phone.
Well,
on my phone, I can't see anything else but this.
Oh, okay. I got you would laugh. I have like 5 different very large screens in front of me. Have I ever sent you that picture? Oh, we got 32 comments. We got a lot of comments here. Just want to see if we got any questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
The journey does not stop. Doreen hopped on. Yay, Doreen.
That's a
Yeah, I don't see, for some reason it's not showing me all the comments. If somebody, or if anybody left a question, maybe I can hop on and either give you a live answer, or I'll answer you in the comments. So it's
I'll look through the
speaking
comments
of growing.
up, and if there's any questions for me, I will happily answer them. And
Awesome.
feel free
Awesome.
to reach out to me if anybody has anything specific they don't want to share publicly.
Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Holly, again. I so appreciate you.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
too.
much. All right. We'll talk later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye.